Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Praised be the name of the Eternal One. Now, praise may ring as a strange way to begin a ritual of loss and mourning and saying goodbye. Yet it underscores what we know, that God's way of life and death, of love and loss, they remain elusive mysteries. God anoints my head with oil, Kosi Revaya. We come together today to keep the full cup of Shirley Bouer's life overflowing. Psalm 23. A Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. Causing me to lie down in tender meadows, leading me beside still waters. The one will revive my soul, guide me in circles of righteousness for the sake of God's name. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a table before me, before my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will return to dwell in the house of Adonai for length of days. In the eyes of eternity, 1,000 years are but a day, and we arise to life as a wave cresting upon a vast and shoreless sea, and we abandon life as a wave abandons its shape and returns to the source from which it swelled, arising, dissolving, returning, yet never leaving. We are one with the source of life now and forever. I'd like to offer this reading, and I have to say it's a traditional reading for women at Jewish funerals. Sometimes people say, no, it doesn't really fit, but this, I have to say, this fits Shirley to a T. She lived this. She epitomized it. What a rare, it's from the book of Proverbs. It's sometimes called the valiant woman. In Hebrew, it's an Eshet Chayim. What a rare find is a valiant woman, an ancient Kyle. Her worth is far beyond that of rubies. She sets her mind on an estate and acquires it. She plants a vineyard by her own labors. She girds herself with strength and performs her tasks with vigor. She sees that her business thrives. Her lamp never goes out at night. She gives generously to the poor. Her hands are stretched out to the needy. Her husband is prominent in the gates as he sits among the elders of the land, and she is clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. Her mouth is full of wisdom, her tongue with kindly teaching. Grace is deceptive, and beauty is illusory, but a woman who seeks to do good is much to be praised. Her children declare her happy, her husband praises her. Extol her for the fruit of her hand, and wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. From Psalm 90. O God, through all generations, you have been our strength and our home. Before the mountains were born or the oceans were brought to life, for all eternity, you are. 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it passes. You return our bodies to the dust and snuff out our lives like a candle flame. You hurry us away. We vanish as suddenly as the grass in the morning. It shoots up and flourishes. In the evening it wilts and dies, for our life dissolves like a vision and fades into air like a cloud. We live for 70 years or 80 if we are strong, perhaps more if we are fortunate. Years filled with pain, suffering, they pass, and we fly away. Teach us how short our time is. Let us know it in the depths of our souls. Show us that all things are transient and as insubstantial as dreams, and that after heaven and earth have vanished, there is only you. Fill us in the morning with your wisdom. Shine through us all our lives. Let our hearts soon grow transparent in the radiance of your love. Show us how precious each day is, and teach us to be fully here. And let the work of our hands prosper for our little while. Those of us who are here today, we're mourning and remembering, and yes, celebrating the life of Shirley Bouer. You, are the works of her hands about which the psalmist wrote. You are the living lessons of her life. And today we might honor Shirley's memory by thinking about who or where we would be if not for her. So some of us, many, wouldn't even be here. Indeed, you wouldn't be the person that you are today. And a hole has been rent in your lives that will never be filled. But we also hold hope and faith that the memories that we have, the love, the caring, her giving soul, her companionship, her teaching, all of what we've learned and received and given through Shirley's life, we pray and we trust that that will offer us comfort and meaning. The most powerful testament to a person's life can, of course, be offered by those who know her, who loved her, were loved and cared for by her, who cared for her, who learned from her, were inspired by her, those who knew her friendship, her strength, and her spirit, and received her life lessons. So most notably, we're going to hear this afternoon first from her son-in-law, Michael Soriano, and then grandson, Harris Weinstein.
As all of you here know, Denise is never at a loss for words, except today. She started writing her mom's obituary, but then she, Robin, Harris, and I finished it. Shirley May Minsky Bauer also a Weinstein and a Sorian. Was born on Thanksgiving Day, November 25th, 1928, in Easton, Pennsylvania, to her parents Harry and Gertrude on their 5th wedding anniversary. She was the third of 5 children. She was predeceased by her parents, as well as her brother Charles, her brother Arthur, and her sister Lillian. Surviving and thriving is her dearly beloved sister, little sister, Gloria. She was also predeceased way too soon by the love of her life, her husband Bobby. Shirley leaves behind her loving daughter Denise and myself, her grandson Harris and his loving girlfriend Marissa, her granddaughter Robin and her husband Zach, and her stepchildren Elise, Mike, and Michael. She also had the amazing blessing of a lifetime to meet and know her great-grandchildren, Daniel and Jillian, and her step-great-grandson Mikey. She also leaves behind loving nieces Susan and Laurie, in addition to numerous other nieces, nephews, grandnieces, and grandnephews. After her marriage to Robert, Shirley moved to Jersey City, New Jersey, where she lived for many years. She had a short working career at Maidenform in Bayonne, New Jersey, but her life and true calling in Jersey City was consumed by her love for her family, friends, and community. Hosting annual Passovers at her home for decades are a fond memory for the many who attended year after year. She was truly dedicated volunteer in every sense of the word, and was constantly helping others in her life, including her sisters-in-law. From Brownie Scout leader to PTA president, from Bowling League president to library board member, from Hadassah president to Temple Bethel volunteer. She truly personified the image of loving and giving human being, so much so that she was awarded Person of the Year, a memorial award given by the Jewish Veterans of the United States in 1991. The plaque that hung across from her bed in her room reads, quote, "A true woman of valor, whose dedication, compassion, and tireless efforts have helped bring well-being to the members, citizens, and persons of her faith." Everyone called her the Jewish Saint Shirley because she was an angel. And now she actually is one. In her spare time, Shirley enjoyed traveling the world with her husband, sisters, and close friends. She was an avid sports fan, to say the least. That being said is the understatement of the century. She and her Bobby were lifelong New York Knicks, New York Yankees, and New York Giants season ticket holders, and ardent attendees at all of the games. It was this passion that she passed on to her grandson. Harris, very early in life, because of her, became the sports enthusiast and handicapper he is today. For close to 30 years, they shared their love of sports and never missed the Giants game together. For the past 15 plus years, they wagered on every single NFL game. Somehow Shirley always, well, almost always, came out on top at the end of the season, and neither would ever bet against the Giants. She and Harris never missed a chance to say goodnight to one another by phone and raise their pinkies together for good luck while singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." She was always curious about what the current and future weather was to be. She'd be very pleased today. And when it would start to rain or snow, the exact location of where we were driving and where our precise destination would be, and whether a dish we were serving or ordering for her had cheese or butter in it. She was the best friend her friends could ever have. We will all together forever love her, miss her, and cherish her memory. You had a great run, Cheryl.
Harris.
I have to say it feels like I hit the eulogy jackpot, being able to memorialize Shirley. My grandma was truly one of a kind. For as long as I can remember, she lived to help people. She always went out of her way just to make someone smile. She saw the good in every situation and every person. Me and Robin would always joke, wishing we could be more like her, but it felt nearly impossible to live up to her standard. I remember fondly as a kid going to the Jewish community home where Shirley volunteered. She went into what felt like every single person's room in the building to bring them food, cheer them up, and see if there's anything that they needed. I was in awe as she managed to make each of them light up. I can still picture the huge smiles on all their faces. She was my role model, my hero, and I wanted to be just like her, which is why I became a Giants fan also. I've received an overwhelming amount of messages from people this week. Many have simply said she was the best. Some have referred to her as an angel on earth. Most have said the world would be a much better place if there were more people like Shirley in it. While today's a celebration of her life, the reality is there will never be another quite like Shirley. However, if we take Shirley's ideals, become more caring, more patient, more selfless, help others in need, hold no prejudices, and strive to carry on her legacy, that would be the greatest way to honor her memory. And I assure you, she'll be looking down on all of us to guide us down this path. Maybe finding her little Shirley ways to make us smile on a tough day when we need it the most. That was my grandma, and she truly made the world a better place. We would always joke when we bet on football games and say to each other, I hope you lose. But Grandma, stand here today to tell you that in life, you already won. Rest in peace over the rainbow, my angel.
Dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. beyond the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't I? So as you've heard, that was Shirley's song. Shirley's parents would sing her that song on the phone every night. Now, we all know that that song is from The Wizard of Oz, which is a place of witches and monkeys and munchkins, but maybe you didn't know that it was penned by two first-generation American Jews, Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg. And if you listen to those same lyrics through that lens, you realize that song is a very Jewish vision of a better world, transformed and healed through love and through joy. And these lyrics captured the world that Shirley envisioned and worked for her entire life. She wanted everyone around her to have that better world. But before I talk more about Shirley, I really need to tell you, Temple Bethel in Jersey City was Shirley's spiritual home, and I dare say social center, for almost 70 years. That's almost twice as many years as she was actually married to her beloved Bobby. And I've been serving Temple Bethel in Jersey City for about 4 years, and during those 4 years, I've officiated at a number of funerals of elderly and longtime members, but none have elicited more tributes and more memories like Shirley. And I got to meet Shirley just once when you brought her for Bobby's yard site not that long ago, before COVID hit. It's more than 2 years ago, but time is squished. Who knows what time it is these days. But it has been such a delight and an honor to receive all of these stories and praises of Shirley. Presidents and rabbis of the past have all reached out to me over the last several days with their stories. Rabbi Kenneth Brickman, Rabbi Deborah Hagen, and our past president, Erwin Rosen, all send you their deepest and most profound condolences and have offered memories that I will share with you along with these remarks. There are a lot of names on the walls of Temple Bethel, as you know. We've amassed a lot in the 150 years that the congregation has been around, or the 95 years that we've been in our beautiful sanctuary, but few made the impact that Shirley did. Erwin mused, volunteering was Shirley's middle name. There was no task that she would say no to. Shirley would take on any project that would benefit the temple. But more than that, he made sure to offer, she did it with joy, with happiness. From the big jobs to the smaller ones, it didn't matter. Shirley served on our board of directors as the president of our sisterhood, but she polished the silver, cared for the Torahs, and would drive anyone who needed a ride. Our longtime Rabbi Emeritus Kenneth Brickman, who I know you've been in touch with, remembers Shirley as a remarkable person who truly gave of herself in every conceivable way and never, ever sought acknowledgement for what she did. And he offered that in addition to all of the organizational work that she did in the community, which was extensive, she also reached out to individuals who were in need, as Harris, you witnessed firsthand, which is just so beautiful. She literally was there for anyone who needed assistance and always did so quietly without seeking attention or recognition for what she had done. And he said, Rabbi Brickman said that he thought in many cases he might have been among the few people who were aware of what she did for people in the community quietly. And speaking of needing a ride, he said he had to talk about her car. Because after Bobby died, as you probably remember, she drove his diesel Mercedes-Benz until it literally could not be driven anymore. You could hear that diesel Mercedes engine a mile away. And I always knew, he said, when she drove up to the temple, because you could just hear her coming. But what he said, and what he felt in his heart, is that driving that car maintained a connection with her husband. And it was a very sad moment when she finally had to give it up. Shirley was a born leader, president of everything. Parents' Council, Girl Scout leader, library board, Hadassah. You know, after we hung up the phone, I actually got to wondering if that's a reason that she have never dated or married again. One of the reasons that she liked being in the driver's seat. My predecessor, Rabbi Deborah Haken, reminded her as a force of nature and offered a few examples of Shirley's amazing energy and caring for Temple Beth El. She wrote that when she first arrived, Rabbi Hagen, that Shirley was already living out of town, but there were still a few older women who needed to go up to Bergen County to the kosher market, the kosher deli, to do their pre-Passover shopping. And Shirley had made the arrangements with the Jersey City Senior Services Center to get a van or a bus to take all the seniors a week or so before Pesach. And she did this every year for maybe about a decade or more. And she kept a list of all the seniors who needed it and knew the pickup sites. She knew the pickup sites to get on the van, on the bus. And Shirley would call Rabbi Haken every year to remind her to get the free bus and the driver set up, and then she would call the seniors to see who would be coming. When it got to be only about 3 or 4 people, the city stopped doing it. But each and every time, Shirley always made sure that the shoppers picked up a big corned beef sandwich for the bus driver, Joe. Denise said that her religion meant everything to her, with 2 sets of dishes, one for meat, one for dairy. She might eat shrimp, but never a cheeseburger. And no car for Shirley on the high holidays. She would walk to temple on those days. The undoubted matriarch of her family, holidays, especially Pesach, were at Shirley's. But her giving, her caring, it didn't stop at the doors of our synagogue. Shirley was a leader of the Jewish Federation Counseling Services, the Jewish Hospital and Rehabilitation, and United Jewish Appeal Federation. She was a driver for Kosher Meals on Wheels, and as much of an impact she made on the Jewish life in Jersey City, her heart of giving to the Jewish community really knew no bounds. Describing Shirley as a true woman of valor whose dedication, compassion, and tireless efforts have helped bring well-being to the members and citizens and person of her faith, Shirley was named the Jewish War Veterans of the United States Person of the Year in 1991. Shirley planted trees in Israel every chance she got. She was on a first-name basis with the folks at the Jewish National Fund. She was actually there once in Israel with her sister and a friend, and mused that had she lived there were all kinds of things that she knew that she would do to support the growing Jewish nation. And even toward the end of her life, in her dementia and suffering from hallucinations, she would call out to people to come in and donate, or she wanted to run a bingo game so people could have a party for the home to help people. She truly built a rich life and meaning and giving of herself. And that would be a fine, fabulous, meaningful life, but it absolutely couldn't define her. That was not just the box that Shirley lived in. There were other sides, as you've heard about. Have you seen the movie Silver Linings Playbook? It seems like Robert De Niro totally took his character from a page of Shirley's book. Avid, devoted sports fan, an athlete in her own youth playing basketball, she followed golf and soccer and lacrosse, all of it on TV. But as you know, a very special place in her heart for basketball, baseball, and especially football. But I'm not talking about a passing fancy. Shirley, as you've heard, was a ticket holder for the Knicks, the Yankees, and the Giants. Did I mention she was the president of her bowling league? She was a serious Giants fan. And after 65 years of being a season ticket holder and never missing a game, the entire Giants team brought Shirley out on the field with Harris. They put her on the big screen and turned her into a real big shot that day. Just loved it. Made her day. And Shirley and Harris's passion for the Giants bound them together in a powerful way. Saturday might be Shabbat, but Sunday was sacrosanct for them. They would always watch the game, and Shirley, of course, had her special rituals. Watching the game was a special ritual in and of itself. She would always be dressed in her Giants gear, maybe an Eli Manning sweatshirt or another piece of swag. And then there was the hex.
Shirley would put a hex on the other team by drawing an imaginary X over them, almost as if she were casting a spell. And then Shirley and Harris would lock pinkies and thumbs for good luck. But this was serious business. Money on the line. Harris and Shirley had a standing bet on literally every NFL game every Sunday. Odds and spreads. Shirley was on it. They would bet $1 a game. Bet for over 20 years. Never more than $1. And in a way that only a Jewish Grammy could, she would say, "You're not going to take advantage of your little old grandma, are you?" Harris's friends remember that again, in only a way a Jewish grandmother could, Shirley would even take spreads on Tushy Ball. And she was good. She was very good. In her predictions, she was almost always up. And at the end of every call, "I hope you lose. I hope you lose." Shirley died wrapped in her Giants blanket and with her Giants teddy bear next to her. Shirley would never bet against the Giants, and no one would ever bet against Shirley's devotion. But even these sides of Shirley don't paint the full picture of who she was, because they leave out what an incredible mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, sister, machatunim, and friends. If you don't know the word machatunim, is a Yiddish word for the family of your in-laws, or most often your adult children's mother and father-in-law. From the beginning till the end, Shirley was her sister Gloria's best friend and protector. Truly, her siblings were her first love and remained that way, especially her sister. And she spoke to her siblings every day, their whole lives. Shirley might have been born on Thanksgiving, but Passover was her pièce de résistance, gathering the entire family and cooking for as many as 25 people. But anyone who knew Shirley knew her to be a caring, loving, happy, positive, charitable person who just wanted to spread love around her. If she didn't like someone, you didn't know it. Shirley was totally devoted to her husband, Bob, until he died. There wasn't a day that went by that she didn't mention my Bobby. They spent every waking hour together when he was alive that they could, traveled, cruises, junkets, gambling cruises with their best friends, sisters, to the islands, Florida, probably honing her skills. And after growing up in Easton, Pennsylvania, cousins fixed them up and they were married in 1951. Shirley worked at Maidenform in Bayonne as a bra fitter for the 7 years before Denise was born. And tragically, Bob died young, in his 50s, right? Early 50s, now 40 years ago. Shirley mourned in her own way, but she plowed forward, got up in the morning, gathered her friends, did her things. From that day on, from 7 to 5, she worked at volunteer things, went out with her friends, went to sleep, and did it again. She just doubled down. That's how she processed his loss. And all of you who loved Shirley, especially Gloria, daughter Denise, and Michael, grandchildren Harris and Robin, your Grammy, your grandma, and of course Marissa and Zach, great-grandchildren Daniel, Jillian, but also step-grandchildren Elise, Mike, and Michael, and step-great-grandchild Mikey, nieces Susan and Lori, and so many other greats and grands and just close ones. She loved you so much. You brought her such joy and love and meaning. She loved being a grandmother to you, Robin, Harris. She loved being a great-grandmother. She loved being in the house and seeing them all the time. She might never have smoked or drank or cursed. Nothing got her upset. You never saw her in a bad mood. Denise could get her to yell, but the harshest she would ever get was, "Oh, nuts, Denise," and then would move on. Shirley made only friends, never enemies. Even her ex-machatunim, they remained friends. There was no prejudice, the opposite. She was amazing. And Shirley was just different from everyone else, selfless and accepting, even coping with Parkinson's for 12 years. And when she was literally walking around with a broken neck for 5 years, and then after that, having spinal fusion at the age of 80, the same kind of injury that crippled Christopher Reeve, Superman. She was just walking around with it. Harris recalls she had the biggest heart that everyone I've ever met. Rabbi Brickman said she was his favorite, a one-of-a-kind soul, and an amazing friend. Her mantra was, everything is going to be okay. And she never lost the classic art of writing to her friends. She continued to write cards and personal notes at holidays, special events, losses. Mike shared that he actually even wouldn't be here if it weren't for Shirley. His and Denise's was a tumultuous romance. It brewed and developed during what he described as the longest divorces on record, both his and Denise's at the time, first marriages. Mike didn't think the relationship was going to make it, but it was Shirley who believed in Mike and believed in them as a couple, and it kept them going. And in the end, though, what Shirley gave you all is possibly the greatest gift, which is modeling the kind of family support and love that most people just dream of. She taught you about volunteering, giving time, the truth that we create the community that we want to live in. We create the family that we want to live in. She taught you about charitable giving, about giving of her time to those people and things that you care about, by showing and doing, and honestly schlepping you along to sing, grocery shop, and helping too many people to count. And caring. It counts. And hearing your stories, I know that Shirley and her values are already deeply, deeply implanted in you, such that you can already see them reflected back in your children, especially you, Denise, and Michael. You're cut from the same cloth, clearly. You have my deepest admiration and gratitude for the way that you cared for Shirley over the last several years, and the way you cared for Anne, both of your mothers at the same time, through horrific illnesses, in your home, lovingly and devotedly and fully for so many years. And hearing how you're doing this gave Shirley a new best friend, when so many people in this world are lonely in those years, in Anne. And how Michael's brother Steve adopted Shirley as well. How you traveled together, pushing 2 wheelchairs everywhere you went. 2! All over the country. How your colleagues and friends knew you as a package deal, asking, "Where's Shirley and Anne?" You honored her. You cared for her. Both of them, incredibly. If Shirley was known as the Jewish Saint Shirley, then you've easily earned the mantle of that title. And I know how much it hurt you to see her pulled from Jersey City, and how difficult that must have been at the time, and what a most difficult decision it must have been. But I also know that it was out of love and caring and devotion. So know that Shirley lives in you, all of you. Her spirit is eternal. Her love knows no bounds of time and space and earth. And the caring and her giving and the love that she shared with you is now for you to share with others. And that will be Shirley's greatest legacy. Zichrona livracha, may her memory always be a blessing. Donations of tzedakah, of charity, and in lieu of flowers in Shirley's memory, and a fitting way to honor Shirley and her incredible life of charitable works, may be made at Temple Bethel of Jersey City. Do you have anything to add about a shiva, a Zoom shiva or visitation? Have you? If not, don't worry about it.
Still forthcoming.
Be in touch. When this COVID thing passes and it's safe, I know that the family will want to be together and celebrate her life in some fitting way. So at this point in our service, I want to invite you to close your eyes and bring forth a memory of Shirley. If more than one come to your mind, all the better. But each one, click save, hold it forever dear. Because it's in this way that we begin the process of ensuring that her spirit, her stories, remain eternal. The traditional El Malei Rachamim prayer I'm about to offer imagines that the source of all life is now enveloping Shirley's soul in complete rest and complete peace and love. And for us, it's a prayer asking that we might learn from Shirley's example and integrate her life into our own. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Shirley, daughter of Harry and Gertrude, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May she rest in peace. Let us say, El Malei Rachamim, Shochein B'Chomi, Amatzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, במעלות קידושי ותחורים גזוהר הרקיע מזהירי את נשמת שירלי בת גרשון וגיטל שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן Anna Baal Harachamim Asdireha Besetek Nafecha Leolami Utzor Betzor Chayim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata Betanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkava V'Nomaha Amen. We now move to what may be the hardest part of our service, which actually in the Jewish tradition is the way in which we can best and most show our love and kindness and devotion to her, which is taking turns filling the grave with earth ourselves, with our own hands. Oh, shucks. It's one of the most profound expressions of love that we can offer. It is the ultimate in kindness and respect. We learn that just as we take care of our loved ones in life, so too in death. And the mitzvah of honoring the dead extends to burial. It's a small but powerful demonstration of love that we don't leave the burial of loved ones to strangers, that we commit her to the earth with our own hands. We take the responsibility ourselves. So the way in which traditionally it's done is that those closest family have the first opportunity to offer a few shovelfuls of earth. We take the first shovelful with the underside of the spade, It's counterintuitive. It's not efficient. That's exactly the point. We start that way to show that though we know we have to do it, we don't want to. And so we do that haltingly. And then we turn the spade around and offer a few shovelfuls the right side of the spade. So, Denise, if you would like to take the first one. And everybody, regardless of where you're from or what tradition you're from, is invited to participate in this. Yep. Right on the casket. So there are two shovels, and we can take it from this side as well as from this side. I'd like to invite everybody who would. really? Okay.